Yo, what's good people? Welcome to my first skate tutorial video. This one's going to be looking at T-stops. So I've got a little structure for these videos. Firstly, looking at starting points, the things we need to know before being able to do this move well, some drills to break down the different elements, a breakdown of the actual move itself, some ways to refine it even further, some creative variations, some challenges for anyone that's already confident, some ideas of how you can combine it with other moves, a little T-stop freestyle showing you how to use this move creatively and in flow, and a few other important considerations. I've also used these as chapter markers, so if you want to skip ahead or play specific parts, you can. So ideally, before even starting to T-stop, you should be comfortable skating on one leg, even just for a few seconds. Before attempting to do this while moving, it's good practice to try it on the spot to get comfortable with our balancing points. So start by shifting our weight to one side of our body, bending our knees so they're roughly covering our toes, and making sure our nose is placed over our knees. Once our balance is shifted to one side, we should be able to lift our other leg in the air. We can start by just holding our balance for a couple of seconds on each side, but then aim to increase the amount of time we spend on each leg, until eventually we can hold on to our balancing point. Once we've got used to this on the spot, we can try it while skating forward. Like before, we might only start with a couple of seconds, but then we can add a few more and keep increasing the amount of time we can stay up until eventually we can hold our balance. So now we're going to go through a few on-the-spot drills to help us with our T-stops. Firstly, thinking about the T position, the main shape of the move is a T or L shape. It doesn't need to be exact each time, and you might want to experiment a bit to find out what's natural to you. But the main premise is that the back leg is perpendicular to the front, so it rubs against the skating surface and creates friction, effectively making your back leg a brake. Another crucial aspect as well as the T shape is the angle of the braking skate as it hits the ground and drags. We need to be very conscious of the angle as we place the skate on the ground. One way is to use all four wheels, attempting to evenly distribute the weight and keep the skate flat. Although this might seem the easiest way, it can sometimes be quite hard to get even distribution and the angle correct. Another popular technique is to angle the boot and just use two wheels, but what you need to avoid doing is tilting towards the inside two wheels, as this will create a lot of resistance and your skates are just going to jump around a lot. But if you tilt the other way towards the outside two wheels, slightly lifting the inside two wheels off the ground, this will be a lot more effective and easier to control. Now we have the fundamentals, we're going to try and put it together and do a T-stop while moving. So gathering a little bit of momentum, shifting your weight to one side, lightly lifting your other leg off the ground and turning it into the correct position and dropping it down at the appropriate angle. There's also another boot angle we can use for doing the T-stops, and that's using the front two wheels, and mainly that front outside wheel, so the wheel underneath your little toe. Now we're going to have a look at some T-stop variations. We're going to start with a backwards T-stop. It has very similar principles to the forward T-stop, where we shift our weight to one side and lift and place our other foot into position. In this version, the leg rotation is a bit more awkward, so the easiest boot angle to use is to get up on those front wheels and mainly use that front outside wheel, the one under your little toe. And again, starting with a very light amount of pressure to get the angle, and then play with the amount of pressure you apply as you get more confident. The next variation is the inside out T-stop. In this version, we turn our heels in so the inside of our boot is facing away from us. The best angle to use for this one again is those front two wheels, and mainly the front outside wheel, the one above your little toe. This position is quite tricky at first, so like with the other drills, it's worth trying it out on the spot before attempting it while moving. Personally, when I do this version, I have one boot right up against the other with not much of a gap. The final version I'm going to mention is the T-slide. Essentially it's the same technique as a T-stop, but we just keep a very light amount of weight on that back foot, so it's just slightly skimming the surface. And this gives us the feeling of sliding across, which should become a very satisfying movement. All the methods we have gone through so far can become slides, just a case of reducing the amount of weight on that back foot. So for anyone that's mastered the T-stop and its variations, I have a few challenges for you. The first is the backwards inside edge T-stop. This is essentially the same technique as a backwards T-stop, but on the leading foot, the one that's given us our direction, we're going to go into the inside edge, so leaning towards the two inside wheels, which will make us turn inwards as we're doing the T-stop, allowing us to do a T-stop and corner at the same time. And if you want a real challenge, you can also try going onto your outside edge. Another little challenge is alternating T-stops, so doing quite short T-stops and switching feet each time. This is a great way to practice strengthening your T-stops on both sides, and also turns your T-stops into a move you can start to do around the rink and attempt to get to rhythm. One creative way to use a T-stop is to actually combine different versions of it while you're skating. A simple combination could be something like a forwards T-stop to a backwards T-stop. Something a bit more intricate could be a backwards to inside out to forwards T-stop. One of my favorite combinations at the minute is a forwards T-stop to half barrel roll to backwards T-stop. The thing you want to figure out when doing these combinations is smoothing out the transition from one variation to another. Not every combination works or looks good, so you just have to have a play and figure out what feels good when you're skating. I hope you enjoyed that little freestyle section. I'm just going to finish off with a few things to consider. T-stops aren't going to be easy to do on every surface, and it really depends on the hardness of your wheels and the surface itself. Also, a big thing to take into account is using these stops too hard and too much will create flat spots on your wheels and ultimately shorten the lifespan of your wheels. That said, they're a very useful stop to know and fun to play with. Anyway, let me know if you liked the video, if you'd like to see more, or if there's certain moves you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. Till then, let's keep it rolling.